Hey everyone, this is Brian from ActiveMelody.com. Well, this week we're going to look at Muddy Waters, Can't Be Satisfied. It's a classic Muddy Waters slide. And I'm going to show you how to play everything in this lesson. We'll break it all down note for note. But the first thing we got to learn is how to tune your guitar. So I'm tuned to an open G, and I'm going to show you how to do this. And it's actually pretty easy. You don't need a tuner or anything. You can do this by ear. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to switch back to standard tuning, so bear with me. This is fun to watch, I'm sure. Okay, so now we're back to standard, pretty close. So, a little out of tune, but so here's how you get into open G tuning. So the first thing to point out is strings 2, 3, and 4 on your guitar are already where they need to be. So you don't have to touch those. That's what makes open G tuning a nice tuning, because you're really only manipulating 3 strings. So those 3 strings stay the same. You can tell that's a G chord if you just play them open. So the top string, or the 1 string, or the E string, we're going to tune that to a D. And so you already have a D, which is here, right? Your open 4 string is a D. So you're just going to match that here. So watch this. So the other nice thing is you're going down, so you don't have to worry about breaking a string. You're actually loosening the tension. So you match that. Now you have those 4 strings. Now the other thing is the 6th string, or the low E string, is also going to be a D. So that's just like drop D tuning. So we get that one in place. Now we've only got one other string to worry about, and that's the A string, the 5th string. So that goes down to a G. So we have a G string here on the 3rd string open. So that's the note we're going to match. We're just going to be an octave lower than that. And that is open G tuning. That's how you get there pretty quickly. So you don't need a tuner. If you've got somewhat of an ear, you can find that and be able to do that yourself. So there we go. Now the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to talk through this little slide technique. Now this is the intro. You can actually, if you listen to Muddy's recording. By the way, if you want to follow me on Spotify, I do have a playlist going, and I've got that in the description on the YouTube channel. So just look in the description, you'll see the link to the Spotify channel. And so I'm adding to it each week. So we're going to have a lot of blues and classic rock and some country and influential guitar. So so let's take a look at what Muddy's doing in the intro to Can't Be Satisfied. I love this. I love his slide playing. It's so cool. By the way, you can do this on an acoustic guitar as well. I've heard it done that way, and it sounds really good. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to look at where, by the way, I'm playing this finger style, so I'm not using a pick. And the way that I do this is I have my ring finger always covering the 1 string. My middle finger is always covering the 2 string. My pointer finger covers the 3 and the 4 string, so it kind of goes back and forth when I'm doing this. There's some points where it's jumping down here and some points where it's here. And then the thumb is kind of getting these lower notes, the 5th and the 6th string. So that's just the way you want to think about lining up your fingers with the strings. And we start with our ring finger on the 1 string. And I take the slide and I come up here to the 12th fret. And now when you're playing slide, you're actually, if you look at where the slide is right over the fret. So, you know, when you're playing without a slide, your finger's kind of behind the fret, and the fret is what shortens the string and makes the note go up. But when you're playing with a slide, you're right on top of the fret. And you're going to want to lightly make sure the slide is just sort of lightly sitting on the strings. It's not pushing down. You don't want to hear a breakup in the tone. You want it to be a smooth kind of thing. You don't want to hear the fretting in there. So okay, so back to that. So the ring finger is on the 1 string, and we start here, and then watch the slide. Now notice the slide stays on the 12th fret. And watch the right hand. I'm going ring, middle, pointer finger, or index finger. Also, notice the slide is building in each time. It's coming up to that 12th fret. The other thing to point out is my right hand is stopping the sound each time that I play it. So you can see how it's coming down on the strings to kill the sound. If I didn't do that, it'd sound like this. It'd just be too muddly. Muddly, is that a word? Muddled, maybe that's the word. So you want to make sure that you, and that's how Muddy does it. He kind of kills that sound. Okay, so that's the first thing that happens. All that's around the 12th fret. Then he comes down and goes, plays these little bass notes in between, which is kind of a nice breakup. And so the way I'm doing that is I'm using my thumb on the 5th string, and just playing that open 5th string, which is, well, it's a G note now. It'd be the A string if you're in standard tuning. So you play that note, then you slide up, you take your slide and you come up to where it would be the 4th fret on the 5th string. And then I take my pointer finger and play that open D string, like that. So you can see, if I do it slowly, as soon as the slide gets up here, I release it and just play that one note. Let me let you watch my right hand. So that's how that happens. Now that happens in between, so we go, and then we do it again. Back down here again. And then the 3rd time through, he goes, he hits that little, the B string, he hits that twice. And applies some vibrato at that point. Very Muddy signature vibrato. It's real hectic, you know. Now that's going to take some practice. That took me a lot of, and I'm still not awesome with slide vibrato. It's different than when you're playing vibrato without a slide. When you're playing vibrato without slide, you're pushing the string up and down this direction. But when you're playing with a slide, you're going back and forth like this, more like a violin. So that just takes some practice. The other thing is to watch what my thumb is doing. It's always anchored here on the back of the neck, and that's important when you're doing this vibrato thing. Don't have your hand just sort of free floating, because you'll be all over the place. You need some kind of an anchor, and so that's how you do that, is you put your thumb back there. So you can see it's just sort of anchored down to keep, to keep something, anchored. Okay, so after that, well, let me back up. Let's cover what we have so far. So we have got that a little out of order. Now the next thing, we're going to come down like that. Now what's nice about that is all of that's played on the 3rd string. So that's all on the G string. So we're going. So we start here on the 12th fret, which we are already there. And I just kind of slide it down and let it go. And then I play the open 3rd string. Notice my pointer finger's doing that. I'm not... Watch my pointer finger. Now, if you wanted to use a pick, if you're just not comfortable doing this finger style, you can do it with a pick. You just don't have as much control over some of the muting, and it sounds more authentic, I think, to play it finger style. This would be difficult to do with a pick. So after we do the open 3rd string, then I put the slide down really around here on the 2nd fret, and I slide up as if I'm going to the 4th fret, but I don't actually make it to the 4th fret. See, listen. And that's the cool thing about a slide. It's more like the human voice. You're not locked into these notes. You can get close, but it's those little subtleties that make the slide just such a unique sound, and you can do things that you couldn't normally do if you were just fretting. So, okay, now we're going to go to the C part of the song, and the way that I do that, or the way Muddy does that, let me show you that. So we're taking the thumb and we're doing what we did before. We're playing the 5th string. slide up to the 4th fret, using your pointer finger to play that open D string, or the 4th string, and then watch this. Then I'm playing the 4th string on the 5th fret and giving it a lot of vibrato there, and that's how he does it. You'll hear it if you listen to his version. And again, you see the thumb back here anchored down. That's key when you're playing vibrato like that. Now here's another trick, and this is something that I didn't learn until fairly recently. I'm not much of a slide player, I'll be honest. I don't do a lot of slide. So, but when you're playing this, to single out that note, what you're going to want to do is kind of mute the other strings with your right hand. I didn't realize that. I always kind of just try to control it here with the left hand, but you can do a lot with the right hand when you're playing slide. So if you look at what the other fingers are doing, the thumb is just sort of resting on these 2 fingers, and the rest of my fingers are just sort of sitting on the other strings, although they're not playing them. So that frees up this one string here, which is the D string, to be able to play and ring out without hitting the other strings. If you don't do it, it starts to sound a little more muddy versus muddy. That's a little play on words there. You can hear how clean that sounds. Okay, so when we go to the C part, we go. So let's do that. And that's just putting the slide in on the 4th string, 2nd fret, sliding up to about the 3rd fret. Now I'm using my thumb on the 5th string and playing the same thing, 2nd fret to the 3rd fret, and then the open 5th string, which is a G. Okay, so let's take a look at that. Now watch this. Now, see how the sound just ended there? Watch what my right hand is doing. See how I'm putting my finger back down? So when you're playing slide, a lot of it is, it's this control of the string, how long you want it to ring out, especially if you're playing electric slide. Now you have other technicalities that you don't have when you're playing acoustic slide. That's a little bit of a different technique, especially with a little bit of overdrive on the amp. But anyway, that's how I control that sound. Same thing with my thumb there. So practice that. If you're having a hard time with all this, practice just getting. You can see the left hand, it's very minimal work. Okay, so let's back up. So we have. Now, after that, I played this thing, and this is hard to do on electric. If your action is set right, which mine is, if you had the action set a little higher, it's a little easier to do this. But what I'm doing, you can see I'm kind of bumping the frets a little bit, but I'm playing the 1 and 2 string, and I'm using on my right hand, I'm using my middle and ring finger, and I'm fretting it here. I'm using the slide up to the 3rd fret. And it happens kind of quickly. It's 1, 2, 3, and then it slides down. So it goes like that. Then I take my pointer finger and play it on the 3rd string and go. So. Just practice that. And you'll, hopefully you can get a little cleaner sound than I'm getting out of this. Then I went, and that's how I concluded that C part before we go to the D. So there's that little same slide up to the 3rd fret using my thumb on the 5th string, and then we came Notice the thumb killed the sound again. And then I hit 2 of those, so that's the 4th string on the 5th fret. And when you hear Muddy do it, you can hear the other strings kind of ring out, which is kind of a cool... I can always tell it's Muddy's slide because sometimes he lets the other strings ring. He doesn't do a lot of the muting. He plays more like hardcore Delta style. You can tell that's just in his DNA, I guess. So here's that. Now this part's pretty simple. Watch this. So for that, there's that little dig that we do every time, that little on the 5th string. That's where I'm playing the 5th string, sliding up to 3rd, 4th fret, somewhere in between. Then playing that open D string with my pointer finger. Then we come up, again using the muting technique with the right hand, but I'm using my pointer finger to pick the note, and it's on the 7th fret, 4th string. And you can apply vibrato or not. I've heard that done either way. It's easier for me because you're doing so much. I think it's easier to not apply vibrato when you get to that note. That's kind of sloppy. That's another thing to point out. Practicing, try sliding right into a note like this. If you see what my hand's doing behind the scenes, the neck, or I'm sorry, behind the neck, my thumb is locking down to kind of slow. It's almost like slowing me down as I get to that note, and that'll happen as you get more comfortable with it. It's almost like a muscle memory. You kind of can learn where to go, but in the beginning you'll go past it or you'll go under it, but you're going to want to practice. And all I'm doing is that 7th fret 4th string, the open D string. Now we do the same thing, but we go only to the 5th fret. Okay, so there's the 5th fret. Then we go to the 3rd fret. Okay, so let's back up. We have... Now watch this. And that was played on the 5th string. So then we drop down to the 5th string, slide up to the 3rd fret, and then the open 5th string. Okay, let me back up. There's one other little part. I'll show you that. But here's what we have from the start. I'll play it slowly. Now to close it out, he goes. And that's just I'm playing the middle 2 strings using my ring finger and my pointer finger, playing strings 3 and 4, and I'm sliding from the 2nd fret to the 3rd fret, like this. And then I'll let them go, let the slide go. So it rings out, like that. And then I go. And that's going, there's that 5th string again, playing, sliding up from the 2nd fret to the 3rd fret. Then I use my middle finger and play the D string, the D string, the 3rd string. Then back to the 5th string. So we have, and then we go. And that's how you conclude it. So there's that little dig again on the 5th string. And then you play the open D string or the 4th string twice. And now I've heard, I think when Johnny Winter does it, he would play and go down and hit that drop D string or that low string. It's not doing anything anyway, so you might as well throw that note in there. But that sets you up to go back and repeat the whole thing again. And so, you know, it's just now. So that would be playing it. So you see the challenge of playing it. Now you imagine playing it and singing it, especially the singing it the way Muddy does, and his very unique voice and phrasing at the same time. That's just kind of, you can see what a genius the guy is, or was rather. All right, so let me back up. I'll play through the whole thing slowly. So. And there you go. There is Can't Be Satisfied by Muddy Waters.